They say the greatest treasures are buried in gold mines and vaults, but some of the most powerful cures in history were hidden in nothing more than a garden. His name was Silas Gray, a quiet man whose hands bore the scent of soil more than ink or coin. To neighbors, he was little more than a recluse, someone who spoke rarely, listened often, and carried an almost reverent patience. But beyond the hedges of his modest farm lay something few had ever seen, an orchard where the trees whispered, and the earth gave back more than it took. This orchard was not marked on any map. Its branches bent low with fruits unknown to merchants. Its roots brewed remedies no apothecary could replicate. Some who stumbled upon its edge swore it was enchanted. But Silas knew better. It was neither sorcery nor miracle. It was knowledge, discipline, and devotion. Decades of studying the language of plants until they spoke back. Yet Silas had one sacred law. He would share its healing only with those who lived not for themselves, but for the good of others. And so the orchard remained hidden, its fruits guarded not by walls or soldiers, but by the measure of the human heart. Silas had not always been a man of solitude. As a boy, he grew up poor in the shadows of fields he was forbidden to own. Where others saw barren earth, he saw secrets, roots that clung to life, weeds that carried hidden strength, flowers that could soothe pain if crushed the right way. While other children dreamed of wealth, Silas dreamed of listening to the murmurs of seed and stem. He would kneel in the dirt for hours, his fingers tracing the delicate threads of roots. He discovered that some plants, when boiled, eased fevers, others could stop bleeding or calm a restless mind. His first true discovery was simple, a leaf that eased his mother's coughing fits. She whispered, breathless yet grateful, "You have a healer's hands, my son." That night, Silas realized knowledge was not just survival, it was salvation. Years passed, wars rumbled, towns rose and fell, but Silas chose silence and soil. He built his orchard beyond sight, a sanctuary where plants thrived in strange harmony. He planted not for beauty or profit, but for purpose. Each tree, each vine was chosen, studied, and nurtured as though it carried a piece of eternity. The orchard became his library. Instead of books, he read leaves. Instead of ink, he wrote with water and sunlight. When fevers swept nearby villages, when children grew pale with hunger, when soldiers limped home with wounds that refused to heal, Silas would quietly slip remedies into the hands of those most desperate. But he was not reckless. He gave only when he saw kindness in return. A selfish man seeking riches for himself would walk away with empty hands. A mother who shared her last crust of bread with a neighbor, she would find her child cured by Silas's medicine. In this way, the orchard was never plundered, never abused. It lived only for the hands that gave, not the fists that took. One bitter winter, famine struck. Crops failed, rivers dried, and sickness spread like smoke. People came knocking at Silas's door. Among them was a wealthy merchant, draped in fine silks, who offered gold in exchange for remedies to keep his family well. Silas looked at the man's rings, the carriages waiting outside, the servants who trembled at his side. "What will you give to others?" Silas asked. The merchant scoffed. "I give wages. Is that not enough?" Silas closed the door. The orchard did not open for him. Days later, a widow appeared, her hands cracked from labor, her children thin with hunger. She had no gold, no fine words, only a small sack of beans she had saved. "It is all I have," she whispered, "but I cannot watch my neighbor's children starve." Silas studied her trembling hands. Quietly, he led her to the orchard and placed into her palm a cluster of roots. "Plant these," he told her. "Share them. They will feed not just your family, but the whole village." She left in tears. And just as Silas had said, the roots took to the soil like fire to tinder, multiplying until her fields were full. Neighbors ate, children survived, and the village endured. Not because of gold, but because of generosity. Word of Silas spread like rumor, though no map could guide anyone to his orchard. People whispered of a man who turned soil into medicine, seeds into hope. Some called him a prophet, others a fool. But Silas never sought titles. When asked why he shared so little, why he guarded his orchard so fiercely, he would reply, "Because the orchard itself is not the gift. The gift is service. The plants only answer to those who already understand that truth. In time, Silas grew old. His hands curled, his back bent, yet his orchard flourished stronger than ever. Before his death, he gathered the villagers and told them, "This orchard will vanish when I am gone, but the knowledge it gave me lives in you. Do not hoard it. Do not sell it. Give it as the earth gives, freely, but only to those who give freely themselves." And when Silas Gray passed, the orchard did indeed fade. The hedges thickened, the paths closed, and what once was visible seemed swallowed by the land. Some said it died with him. Others believed it still waits, hidden, watching. But the villagers carried forward his lessons. They planted, healed, and shared. And in every act of kindness, the orchard breathed again. The story of Silas Gray is not one of wealth, nor of miracles. It is the story of a man who saw that the earth yields its greatest harvest, not to the greedy, but to the generous. Perhaps the orchard was never a place at all. Perhaps it was a truth waiting to be discovered, that service is the richest soil and kindness the strongest root. And if you ever hear the wind whispering through an old grove of trees, listen closely. You might just hear the orchard still, reminding us that healing like fruit is sweetest when shared.